Okay.
Well, then, we lost a wild Crysstal.
Oh, no.
I'm sure she will be back in just a moment.
So anyway, hi, everybody.
Welcome, everyone. Ignore my hair. It's in between being dyed. There's a wild Crysstal.
There we go.
Hey.
It froze. I could hear it, but it froze up on me, and then everything stopped, and I was like, "Oh, okay."
Yeah.
I know that feeling.
I'll try this again.
Okay. Hello.
Hello. Hold on, it just froze up there.
Oh no, did it freeze up again? What is going on? StreamYard.
I'm gonna jump in then.
Yeah, okay, there we go. All right, you're back. Even if the screen froze on you, because if you're on mobile, I've learned that that's what it's been doing. But you are back. We can hear you and see you, even if you can't.
As long as you guys are back. Yeah. No. But I can hear you.
There you go.
And I won't move.
Okay.
So we're good.
You're okay. You're okay. All right. So, hi.
Hello.
Welcome to Thursday night, Two Geek Girls. I am Kelly, and you guys know Crysstal.
Hello.
And I don't have anything of interest to say tonight other than I'm mad at people that like to talk about things that they don't know about.
Yes. We definitely one of your prickly points, and definitely something that, and I can handle. It's the attitude with it. Like, if you want to state an opinion and then you're like, "Oh, is that right? Oh, okay, my bad." Cool. It's the attitude of knowing it all and then kind of like digging in, doubling down with attitude. Like, now you're a waste of my time. Yeah.
Agreed. I also have this thing where it's like, I know that they're trying to help, like, your opinion, but they don't actually know exactly what they're talking about, and then they accidentally make things worse, or where basically like we're having fun and then it kind of ruins it. Really annoys me. Because that's one reason why I was rushing late to get signed on. So, but happy WandaVision Eve, everybody. We will finally get our finale.
Here we go. Are we hedging our bets on one Doctor Strange?
I think if we do actually get a quote unquote Luke Skywalker moment, it definitely will probably be Doctor Strange.
Right.
Things have slightly been not spoiled for me, but basically hinted at. I am probably more on the, like, my theories are more on the right track, and I won't go into them because of that.
Okay.
But it's basically, like, one of the writers have already come out and said that these crazy fan theories that have been going around on Twitter are probably wrong. AKA, I assume that that's probably the mutant situation. Obviously, though, they didn't go into it, so we don't know. And then to this morning, Paul Bettany admitted that, like, his whole thing about, I get to work with an actor I've never worked before was his way of saying he gets to fight himself. So
yes. Okay, I like that. But Paul Bettany is also getting into the from his first days of being in this fandom to today, although he's always been a nerd, obviously, in some sense, but I also don't trust him not to troll a little bit, but yeah, I get that. Like, that works. They're clearly trolling. It's hard. It's a lot of people like to pick apart, like, until you've seen this episode, or until you've seen an episode, it's hard to pick apart what you're seeing. You can't pick apart the trailers. They troll us with the trailers. They hide things. They edit things. So those don't give us any clues. But the questions have been Doctor Strange, Mephisto. I never say it right because I feel like I'm going to trip over it, but you know who I mean. Thank you. And so that coming up, it feels like a lot has to be explained in this final episode, even though it's just stepping off into the next part. I get that. But I don't know. This feels like a lot of explanation still to come.
Yeah.
And then, so I'm anticipating that there'll be a lot of reveals, not just a couple. What was the other? Anyway, yeah, I know not to go off of anything that I'm seeing them tease, as opposed to just having to go with what we've already seen in a full episode. So I'm excited. And I trust it. I'm not worried about it, but I'm not going to know anything until I see it. It's just, and I know that. Much as I'd like to put out the theory, much as I'd like to, yeah.
Exactly. And like, I probably should like go back on my, like, I'm not meaning to be rude about like people trying to assist my opinion, but if they don't really know what they're talking about, it kind of drags the mood down a little bit and makes it, you know, when everyone's having a good time and joking around, and then it just kind of, it's like their tone is off, and then it just nosedives into bad tone, and that's what I'm annoyed by. But yeah, no, I mean, we don't really know what's gonna happen. I think this is gonna be an hour, maybe an hour and a half long, maybe.
I'm hoping.
Probably not.
But I'm maybe just over an hour. So I just going over everything that we still have questions about, and then the question is, what are they actually going to answer at the end of this? Because clearly they're going to leave us on some sort of cliffhanger, which is totally fine. But there's stuff from the end, not just the end of this recent episode, which is 8. I'm trying to keep the counter in my head, 8, but there were things that happened at the end of episode 7 that haven't been answered yet either, per se.
Yeah.
We still we still don't have a confirmation on who the rabbit is, except for this Mr. Scratchy. So I guess it's her son, who's also the mailman, I guess.
No. Okay. So that's a theory that no one's even seen the mailman. No. So the thing is ultimately, I'm pretty sure Senor Scratch is going to be Nick Scratch, which is her son. If that's the way they're going. Otherwise, I think Senor Scratch is just another name for her pet, because her pet would be like her child, like Nick Scratch would be, and there is no Nick Scratch.
Right, because we don't have the cat, so we don't have her familiar. She treats the rabbit like a familiar, not like a kid.
Yeah, but we haven't seen Ebony. Yeah, no. And just like we haven't seen Ralph, and that's a whole thing. Where is her husband? Who is her husband? Is Ralph Mephisto? Is Ralph gonna be somebody else? Is it is you know is this Pietro, this fake Pietro? Is he Nightmare? Is he Mephisto? Like we don't know, and we have no clue if that's gonna be it or not. And
because she's only had her eyes and ears that he was trying to prod. The mailman that kept appearing always had a rabbit symbol on him. But then like with the presto delivery or something, which I don't know. Trying to pick it apart, because there's so many things around that it could be. I don't know. Again, I go down the rabbit hole, haha, bum bum, and still go back to I'm not gonna know until the end of this episode. Not a clue.
Yeah, no.
Could be a million things, but it is exciting to try and come up with something and maybe see if we're right. I do like the theory they broke down. I saw it where I guess they're assuming that she has we're breaking into the two visions, and we're trying to pick apart. Here's the white vision from the comic books. Here's the white vision that we have here. And vision that can't exist out of the consciousness of Vision. Is this Vision the one with the consciousness of Vision, and the other one's just a shell?
Well, I mean, it looks like in this situation, unless they have the brain, like they use that Wonder Man idea with the brain patterns, and so Vision Blanco, as I like to call him, because White Vision sounds inappropriate. I guess maybe it's appropriate for Tyler Hayward, but not appropriate in normal stuff. So anyway, so for Vision Blanco, if I would assume he would, like, if it's doing the Wonder Man brain patterns like in the comics, it would be based off of Hayward, and maybe that's the situation. Like maybe Hayward is the MCU's Wonder Man in that regard, which I'm sure will make a lot of people, anti-Wonder Man fans, happy. So that is, that, because a lot of people don't like the Williams brothers. I know that like the Grim Reaper has to show up somewhere because there's been too many hints, but at the same time, I don't know where he's going to fit here. And that's Wonder Man's brother. Wow.
Sorry.
No, you're fine. So yeah, so it's, it's, yeah, there's still many different options that they can go with, many different versions of the same story, because of retcons and everything like that. So we just have to kind of see how they're going to handle it.
Yep. It's everything from the Vision that's involved to the kids. Are the kids going, in the comic books they die and yet they get reincarnated? They do exist in the comics. Are we doing that? I don't know.
Well, their reincarnation was like a weird Mephisto deal anyway. In technicality, they never really existed and they were a part of his soul. So I mean, whatever. So there is that whole situation. I don't think that they're going to go that route with the kids. It's just very clear that these kids are a part of this world, and
right. And it has been mentioned a couple of times, like, no, she can really make this. Like, these kids are real. I still don't know what the deal is with the kid. Like, they've mentioned that it was important for us to know these kids are real. Whether she gets to keep them or not, we don't, but they're certainly being treated like they're real. They've mentioned that they're real. That doesn't mean that they're safe. That there's something about missing children, and that they've been brought to the city, like they were only there for Halloween night, and then there weren't any, like, okay, so what's the story behind that? Are we getting a Captain Marvel 2, or are we getting her as a different character?
Well, I mean, we are going to get, so eventually. Monica's never going to be Monica in MCU is never going to be Captain Marvel. That's not happening. I mean, I would be shocked if that did. She is either going to be Photon or more than likely Spectrum, which is her most recent name in the Marvel comics. And we already know that she's leading, she's a part of the lead cast along with Brie Larson and a new actress whose name I cannot remember for Miss Marvel. Right. So, and American Chavez, there's going to be an actress for America also somewhere in there, or she's in Doctor Strange. I'm not sure. Either way, there will be like America Chavez. There will be Miss Marvel, current Miss Marvel, Kamala Khan. There will, we will see either Photon / Spectrum, which obviously we're going to see Monica use her powers in this episode. Like that's kind of a given, because
more so than she already has. Actually using them.
And obviously like Wanda's a part of Doctor Strange, and so is Bruce Campbell. Also not a shocker. Anybody that's acting like that's a shocker apparently does not know a Sam Raimi movie, and I suggest you start watching some Sam Raimi movies.
Is there one that he hasn't been?
No, that's the whole point.
Nothing.
And I honestly wouldn't be shocked if Lucy Lawless also had a cameo at some point. Like,
even if it's just one line.
Yeah,
she'll
just
still be there.
One line. Yeah, just one thing.
Yes.
So
I want more Michael Hurst. I don't know why he doesn't. Michael Hurst is busy doing Shakespeare in New Zealand, but bring him back anyway. I don't care, because that's just me.
Yeah. Well, I mean, these are all also always bit parts. Although I still slightly, in my dream of dreams, hope like even if like there is no Toby, there is no Andrew, we're not jumping into the Sonyverse in this multiverse movie.
Yeah.
That at least Bruce Campbell can be his Spider-Man 4 Mysterio character joke gag, that they had planned and script and ready to go, and they didn't use, because I just want to see Bruce Campbell as Beck. Like, it's perfect. Darn it.
I mean, once it's in your head, it never gets out. So
no.
Yes, no, I have to agree with that. Yes.
Like, even if it's just a gag, if it's just a gag about the fact that, like, Mysterio pretended to be a part of the multiverse in Far From Home, and then you have, like, you step into the multiverse and here's another Mysterio, it'd be funny.
Yeah. Oh yeah. No, with him, absolutely. Yes, and I mean, it's part of it is I'm trying not to jump too far ahead to anything that I've seen from anything else, anything I've heard about Doctor Strange 2, anything that I've heard about, with Loki or Lady Loki or any of these other characters. Like, I have no idea. I just find myself consistently tripped up to summarize with all of the things that we still don't have answers to. All of the, and everything is like, it's not the character. Again, I'll say it. It's not the character so much as what they're keeping the mystery is everybody's motivation. It's like what, why, the how, that of this show is the theme. Like, we knew the characters that were going to be in it, if that makes sense. Like, no, we knew who all of these people were going to be, and for the people we don't know, there's only one or two possibilities. It's this motivation that seems to be the driving force. It's, that'll be the driving force of what happens next. So even with finding out that this is how Agatha wanted to find out what Agatha's motivations. Oh, and the one thing I was going to say about her husband, there was a line in there that I hold on to where she's, she made a comment that her husband thinks she's too laid back. Well, is that a hint on how horrible your husband really is? Like, how far are we going to go with him in this series? Because he is pretty bad.
Well, I mean, we have to see who Ralph is, if we do, because we might not.
Right. Not yet.
So,
that's the only thing she said. Yeah,
I still don't think, like, even if it is Mephisto, it's going to be a hint that it's, Mephisto. We won't see Mephisto until Doctor Strange. I think, like, the name might be dropped, and that might be like cutscene. We're not going to get a resolution. I think anyone that thinks we're going to get a resolution would be insane. TV shows are known for cliffhanger finales, and, they would honestly kind of be doing their disservice of their homage to sitcoms and TV if they didn't end on a cliffhanger. So that's kind of, and that's another thing. Like, I think people are going to be really, really mad already. I'm literally kind of bracing on, like, okay, I'm going to need to probably turn everything off, be off the internet for a while, just already go ahead and assume everyone hates me for being right, or for,
it's gonna
expressing my opinion, so there's a whole lot of there's a whole lot of, like, I kind of already know, where I'm bracing stuff, but some people might not be bracing, they're not bracing it because I said it last time and I'll say it again. It's Endgame, I think, was like feeding the gremlins past midnight, and now everybody, hey Vinkman, everybody needs to what is it? Like, basically it's, they want what they want. Damn the consequences, and who cares if there's nothing to do with the characters or nothing to do with the story, and they're missing so many key parts of the script and of the story.
That may be the biggest benefit of this show being a more obscure storyline.
Yeah.
For, it's again, these are characters that people are only falling in love with now.
Yeah.
So but at the same, we're also dealing with a lot of people that can't handle the who shot JR moment.
Exactly.
And just sit on it for a while. Just,
Exactly. I mean, this is going to be another, like, my thing is like, I can expect where I probably will be satisfied with it, and I'll watch all the people that, like, are just hung up on the wrong things are going to wind up being like, oh my God, it's Game of Thrones again. And it's like, this is nothing like Game of Thrones. Game of Thrones was horrible. Like,
could have been the greatest series finale of all time.
Well, it could have been the greatest season of all time had they just not like.
I know he told you the ending. Y'all have no excuse. You just wanted to go do Star Wars. Screw off.
And how did that work? Because everybody hates Star Wars. Somebody actually like already tried to let
they didn't do it. They didn't get to do it. They were already
like, yeah, no. Well, I mean, I'm sorry, Last Jedi ruined everybody's chances at Star Wars. At least the Mandalorian saved you, but you know, maybe someone should have actually like wrote the new trilogy together all in one so it was cohesive and then kept everybody in the loop instead of just going, no, we're going to change it up and we're just going to shoot the shit, shoot off the fly. I mean, that's what you get. At least the things with the prequels and the original series is like there was still an overarching idea for the trilogy. That was the whole point.
An original overarching idea.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I don't even care if it's even like, because we all have like basically at this point everything's a nostalgia bomb anyway, but it's like you could have at least said, okay, here's the beginning, middle, and end.
Right. It was not like just from movie. Yeah, I mean, just from movie making, it just wasn't a good script. It just wasn't anything good to jump off of, and that's that again. Yeah, that getting meleeed in fan service. I think that's a huge benefit that something like WandaVision has. That's going to be a huge benefit, I think, for Loki too. There are things that fans are obviously hoping for, expecting, but at the same time, we really don't know where this is going because they've set everything up in its own original. Again, it all comes down to motivations. It's not about who the character is in all of these, at least well-written, timed-out stories.
Yeah.
It's the why. It's the how. It's keeping us on our seats, edge of our seats.
Some of the best, this is my thing, it's like some of the best comic book storytelling, some of the best TV storytelling, movies, etc., random fiction books, in anything. It's always because there is a story to tell and the characters feel genuine and authentic. Right. Even if it is, at the end of the day, the same story over and over again, it feels different. It feels new because it's a new telling and it's a new way of looking at it with a different character, with a different twist.
Updated and relatable. Yeah.
Yeah. And the thing is that somewhere along, I mean, one of Disney's formulatic stuff, which is one of their hindrances, honestly, is they look at merchandise first and story last. And it's been a problem. And that was what happened with the new Star Wars, is they went IP. We get the IP. Yay, IP. They didn't care what happened with the story. They've learned their lesson. And that's one reason why I think, like, they kind of like gave the Mandalorian to the people who wanted to tell a story, who had a story to tell, and they weren't expecting it to do well. Like, I mean, they can sit there and say, "Oh yeah, we kept Baby Yoda a secret." Y'all just didn't intend on making the toys. Y'all didn't think it was.
You did not. You were late to that game. Etsy was way ahead of you.
Well, that was the whole point. They kept saying, they're like, "Oh well, we did it because toys leak all the time, and we just didn't trust Hasbro. We had to keep it tight." No, you didn't. You really just didn't feel like spending the money because you didn't realize what you had. And then you went, "Oh wait, if we tell original stories like the fans have been saying for us to do, we could do something great." What?
Yeah.
And that's the whole point. Like, they just really didn't get it. But that's because Disney is all about IPs and never really about storytelling. And it's got to shift to make things work, especially in our internet age.
And there's so much snobbery towards media that has to have good storytelling in order to stay alive. Again, people dismiss comic books, they dismiss cartoons, they dismiss anything animated, but those things do not survive unless they have gripping storylines. Because when we were growing up watching the X-Men show, we had to wait a week until Saturday morning again to figure out what was happening next. And guess what? Kids tuned in and they bought all the toys because it was well written. And it's like, how could you guys not remember this? Yeah, you sold Care Bears, you sold Rainbow Bright, you sold G.I. Joe, but you also had a show that everybody tuned into a week later.
Exactly.
It still had to be good.
Exactly. I mean, like, of course, there's certain things that, you can kind of look back on and go, oh man, I can't believe that, like, I thought that was good at 4 or 5. But the thing is, it still compelled you. Like, I mean, if someone asked me about what I had watched on Saturday morning, I would have been able to explain it to them and explain why I wanted this toy, because I identified with this character based off this story versus, like, what can you really say about Rey at the end of the day? Like, looking back on it, like, what can you say about that character? She has the bones of being something strong and great.
Yeah.
But the payoff just didn't add up. And I'm not saying that to, like, I'm not one of these Kathleen Kennedy bashers. I think she does her job appropriately. I don't think she's as involved as most people assume she is. Should, the people under her do a better job? Yes.
It takes more than one person to make a bad trilogy of this size.
Exactly.
I mean, come on.
At the same time, I can't, like, I also can't sit there and say, based out of every other female character we've had previously, unfortunately, she, at the end of the day, like, hot take, but she is the weakest. Do I like saying that? No. Like, do I want her to be great? Am I sitting here bashing her? No. She had the bones of being something special, but the writing was not there. It's not against the actress, which is another thing that the Disney executives were acting on, was that they were doing they kind of treated the staff a little bit inappropriately towards the last movie because they acted as if it was their fault, and it wasn't. I mean, the thing is you forget that, like,
they worked really hard. Like, I give that, like, they took it very seriously. These are very good actors. They worked really hard.
They have amazing careers. It has nothing, like, the issue is that the heart of Star Wars was not there, especially in the last movie. And it all comes down to the fact that it was franchise first, story last, and that's not how you keep things running. And I mean, I really do think, like, movie like film course, like college film courses are going to discuss this as, like, something of, like, what not to do when you're managing a certain marketing account or a certain media account, like,
because this was the roadmap of what movie studios have to look at. You're looking at tentpole franchises, you're looking at trilogies, you're looking at buying up existing IP and rebooting it, retconning it. And so this was supposed to be the model of the biggest and the grandest and the goal. And it's going to be the Carrie the musical of, the film industry, as you said, when, which is an excellent balance, but it's kind of like, Game of Thrones is going to be.
Exactly. It's Game of Thrones is going to be like Game of Thrones is like the Atlanta Falcons of the TV industry. Of you get to the last quarter and then you choke.
Yes. Everybody thinks it's easy. Everybody thinks they figure out the formula. Over and over again, I will look at somebody saying, oh my God, that's so original. It's amazing. Everybody's talking about it. Let's copy it.
Yeah. Well, we've lost the idea of original ideas, and we've lost the idea of moving forward. There was something, actually, because a lot of cartoons, like little political cartoons, were being made about the fact that The Simpsons got renewed again, which, I mean, is fine. Like, at this point, I don't expect it to ever be canceled. I just expect them to keep going and going and going as long as they can. I've accepted this. I mean, they've been running longer than I've been alive. It's just a fact. Like, it's just a way of life. And,
I was sick.
And that's okay. So I wasn't really as concerned, but a lot of people, because they really feel like, it's time, it's ready to go. You need to go ahead and close the chapter. There was a political comic where it was like Homer Simpson and then opened up and it was Mickey Mouse coming in and basically was like, hey, did you know that back in the 30s they thought nostalgia was a disease? Like looking back on the past, the way we do in our society, it like actually what like used to be frowned upon because they wanted to see more inventive stuff. They wanted everything to be new and focus on the future. And a lot of now I'm sure a lot of it really does have to do with the fact that we are in a pandemic right now. And, you know, and we've kind of dealt with a lot of trauma in our lives, just global trauma. But like this whole 90s nostalgia, or even like I've noticed like there are teens, because they're still 18, 19 years old, that are getting into the fashion of the 60s and the 70s, and that's all their TikToks are about. And I know that they're doing it as a way to stand out, and it looks really beautiful. I really appreciate the fact that they're deep diving into the style and the history, because we do need to preserve our history. But
even through fashion.
Yeah, even through fashion, but it's just the fact of like we're not looking ahead at all. Like no, I don't see anybody socially looking ahead. We're all looking behind us and doing stuff behind us, whether it's jokes about Gen Zers and millennials on stuff, but we're not being innovative. You know what I mean?
I do. And this is where things end up falling flat. I do like the idea of another generation being able to recognize things that were maybe ahead of their time and underappreciated at the time. We can look back at some cartoons and some characters that even those things that we grew up with and look back and say, wow, we really didn't understand how kind of amazing that character was.
Exactly.
How like that's great. And I love that that's being acknowledged by another generation. That's cool. And when they're understanding that they're looking back at something to kind of understand what's happening next, I understand with fashion, everything that's old is new again. And compared to the big changes that were happening 100 years ago in fashion, we're not really going to see a whole lot of different changes other than the places I don't know. Fashion's kind of different right now because everything is very functional, especially coming out of a pandemic. Like things just became more functional. And I see that moving a little bit slower than it used to, certainly.
Some of it's like, yes, people have now been like, yes, here are sweats for work, which is great. And I was already doing that. Beta brand already had that unlocked, y'all. But other things I've seen though has just been like, because no one is going out, everyone's exploring their own way of doing things. I've literally watched a YouTuber off, I think it's the Delish channel. Her name's June. She's one of their editors. She's been doing like a how many meals can I make for $20 in New York City during this just random stuff like gluten-free meals, vegan meals, whatever, and slowly over this full year, because by the way, guys, like on March 13th, it will be 1 full year since we technically were all under this lockdown pandemic situation, regardless of where you live, which may or may not have actually taken it seriously. But as the full year's gone on, like her hair has gotten wilder and crazier and weirder, which could be a signal for mental health, but also just it's when you don't have anywhere to go or anything to do, the best way to make to express yourself is going to be like actually doing the things that you've always wanted to do and never had the self-confidence to do it, or felt like if you go outside you're going to get ridiculed for it, so you might as well do it. So it's been interesting to see people react in that way, and that's the cool part, because maybe there can be innovation in looking in the past.
Yes.
But right now it's like everything weeds. You know what I mean? So it's like so it's like I don't know how we're gonna push ourselves forward at this point, because we've lived in this nostalgia bomb for so long.
Yes, because we're dealing with about 100 years of completely different records of what happened. Like 100 years ago, we didn't have great videotape of what was how. Like there was some, but it really kind of sucks. Like there's only so many videos of Sarah Bernhard, not to be confused with Sandra Bernhard. So there are certain people that are going to stick in our mind in fashions because there's a million photographs of it, and there's a million videos of it, and those things became part of our culture visually. So a lot of what we see as nostalgia is kind of just better record keeping and things that will continue to be recycled because the record doesn't go away. And that's one thing we can always expect. The other part of it is kind of accepting a little bit of change in something that's always been there. Maybe The Simpsons is a good example of this because I do watch the new episodes because there's just characters in there that maybe for nostalgic reasons I love. And I see them tackle like trying to take this character that has been defined by that actor for 32 seasons and nearly 700 episodes. So we're going to assume that actor knows that character really well. And they work with the writers a lot, and they have to tackle a problem that didn't exist in 1989. So I will give credit to something that a lot of people might be sick and tired of, and yet when they get it right, they kind of really get it right. They kind of really have a very defined view on it from somebody that is like it's kind of biographical at this point. I mean, where does Nancy Cartwright end and Bart Simpson begin? It's like, I don't know, they're kind of together. So when Bart Simpson had a child, like a school friend who turned out to have a mental illness and like kind of did something that almost killed himself, and you know, the reaction was kind of really grounded in that. I'm like, wow, The Simpsons just did an episode about this, and then to hear Nancy Cartwright talk about it, there are times where there are a lot of parallels for her influence over the character, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Well, I'm not meaning to say that she is Bart Simpson. I'm just saying that this is somebody she's clearly embodied for so long.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, it's the same. Yes, Crysstal, you are frozen, but your voice is fine.
Okay.
Yeah, so if you want to go out and come back in, you can, but like, I mean, I totally get if you want to continue, because you know, working StreamYard through mobile, it has been tough since the last StreamYard update. StreamYard, fix yourself, please. Thank you. But yeah, so
yeah.
Okay. But anyway, hi guys.
Anyways, hello.
Yeah.
This is what I'm here for.
But as she was saying, like, I get the whole thing with, like, to actually bring up a point with Bart Simpson and Nancy Cartwright, like, having a character for so long also should give you those kinds of benefits of saying, hey, look, I know this character better than half the writer staff, because the writer staff generally changes every season.
Well, yeah, there's that. And also, like, when you're an actor in anything, whether that's like a television actor, a voice actor, a theater actor, anything, like, one of the first things you're supposed to do is, like, understand the character, get in that character's mindset.
I mean, that should be the case everywhere. Everyone should be able to get into the character. I mean, that could go back into, like, the certain stuff going on with the comics where people don't know really, like, they don't have the voice for the character down. They don't know who the character really is. They didn't do their proper research on the character, and then they just go right off and act like they know everything. And then when fans get upset or someone has a criticism, all of a sudden they're the haters and how dare you, and I know everything and everything is perfect.
Then they call them children. It's like being Tim Burton going like, oh God, no, I would never read a comic book. In response to people saying, like, you kind of missed some stuff there.
Well, that was also always, I think, a joke. He's been known to read the comic books. He knew Batman very well. He had an idea of the Batman he wanted to tell, and that was his Batman, and he should have said it better. The thing about Tim Burton is Tim Burton doesn't know how to talk to people. We've kind of learned this, because once you learn Tim Burtonism, you kind of understand most of where he's coming from. But it's the fact of, like...
And this is as someone who liked the movie, but I was also kind of like, I also get why people had a hard time looking, and that's honestly more people looking back at it. if I'm going to be honest, as opposed to people that remember it when it came out.
Yeah. Oh yeah, no. And I mean, there's this difference between there's also this difference between at least knowing enough to put your own spin on the character versus not knowing anything and then putting your own spin on it and then saying, no, this is the right thing. I don't know why all of my rants turn into like Dan Slott bashes, but here we are because that's the whole situation.
I still have Snyder problems. I admit it, and that's I don't hate everything that he does, but there's still a lot of decisions, and I remember really hating his attitude during.
It's all about the attitude too. It's like if you get a criticism from a fan, even if you know that like, oh hey, this wasn't the idea of where I wanted to go, and these are not the fans that I really wanted to appease, at least sit there and go, okay, I hear you. However, this was my vision. Or like there's a certain way of spinning it without being so disrespectful and rude. Yeah. And I've never fully understood creators that act like that, because to me that shows that they are insecure about their own story.
Yeah.
And more than likely have their own personal issues to work out. But they don't need to be attacking the people that are paying money to see their stuff.
Yeah, and another thing is that, like, when they're like people like Snyder are really good when you hand them a full-on finished script that's like basically a total remake of a comic. Because 300 was great.
Shot for shot. He's a good DP.
Shot for shot is great. He's good at being a DP. He's not good at being a director. There's a difference.
I don't agree with some of his theories of storytelling. Like I don't, and that's having been said, I do have hopes for the Snyder Cut, but that's just kind of because I feel like the movie has nowhere to go but up.
Yeah, that I feel. However, they did include Jared Leto's Joker.
Yeah.
But that also might have to do with contract shit, though.
No.
Just a cameo.
I would assume that Jared Leto probably went to WB and went, I'm suing you if you don't give me the screen time that's in my contract. You can't tell me that that's not what happened. It's the same thing on why, like,
I would have paid him to not be in my movie.
Right? But WB is not smart. We've learned this. But also, like, there's a whole bunch of the situations of Sony through the Sony links, notorious for, they will look through those contracts and comb those contracts and go, wait, this actor owes us 3 hours on set. We're going to make them do a cameo appearance. Yeah. The Ghostbusters movie with, the last Ghostbusters movie with Bill Murray, that was the whole situation. He didn't want to be on set. He didn't want to do anything. They looked through his contracts, realized that he technically owed them like 12 hours and made him be on set, which is, basically threatened to sue him if he didn't show up on set. That's inappropriate.
You're gonna get a great performance out of that. Like,
right? God. Yeah. But like, that's why, like, when they first said, oh, hey, we have, Modena is coming back. We have Jamie Foxx coming back for Electro and blah, blah, blah. It's like, they could be reprising their roles. This could be a multiverse movie. Obviously, Jamie Foxx did well. William Dafoe's not been confirmed at all, so that's a whole rumor that I think started because the other people came back. But we know Modena and we know Fox, and Fox did say he was reprising Electro. However, nothing on any parts of the scripts or anything that's been said has said actual Electro, but we will see. But there's the whole fact of, the thing is like, who's to say that this also wasn't being set up because they probably had something in their contracts for later movies or later situations, and they never happened. So now they're saying, hey, can you come back and do this so we can get basically the contracts can be cleared.
Right.
And it could have something to do with Doctor Strange and Sam Raimi's movies. could just be because Sony's trying to clear their decks, because it is Sony, and as we have a stat, and people they act like they don't know this, and it's literally sitting there right on WikiLeaks. Like the Sony leaks from WikiLeaks are one of my favorite, favorite and horrific, rabbit holes you will ever go down, because you will see how the movies work, and you will also see that George Clooney's email address at that time
was the Batman one.
Yeah.
He trolls himself so much. I love it.
Yeah, or the fact that they completely like destroyed Angelina Jolie's appearance behind her back in these emails, and it's really the whole thing's horrific, but it's also like, this is how the movie industry works. You guys are acting like everything is around the fan service because Endgame gave you everything you wanted once, and that's not how this works. That's not how it's
exactly
always work. Yeah. Sometimes they have a story to tell. Sometimes they have contracts they have to finish and complete. There is legality in that, and you kind of just have to accept what they give you, and hopefully it's good. Hopefully you appreciate it. But even if you don't, or you have a criticism, or you're disappointed because it wasn't what you wanted,
that's what most people's are. I mean, God, they got Yentl too. Ugh.
Yeah,
this is what happens. Yeah.
So.
Or Electra or anything else like that.
Yeah.
This is what you get. But yeah. But I'm so excited for WandaVision, and hopefully next time we'll have more news of the. I guess we're getting confirmations of Galaxy Quest.
Oh, new Galaxy Quest.
Sigourney Weaver just released something.
I don't want Tim Allen anymore, though. Can we do it without him?
I don't know.
Cancel Tim Allen.
I don't know. It's an obscure story right now, but this one's coming from Sigourney.
Also, how can we have Vision Quest without Alan Rickman?
Galaxy Quest. There's a part of that was brought up too.
Oh, but, one thing that I have heard.
Pre-production, by the way, we're talking like pre-production, everything like that. We're not talking about like on set or photography or anything yet.
Yeah.
One thing I've heard is that the writers didn't want to go forward without Alan Rickman since he passed away.
Yeah. Yes, so that was the original hiccup. So they basically are talking about like doing a like dedication piece, and part of the story will be the next person, if that makes sense.
Taking over.
Okay.
Yes. Okay, that'll make sense, because like they could do it, like, since this is supposed to probably be set so much further in the future, since it has been like 20 years. You can't change the fact that like everyone's aged that much.
Yeah.
So
I mean,
like, they're probably gonna
in his 40s.
Yeah. So they're probably going to do it that, like the actor died and that'll be what got them back together or something like that.
Yeah.
Something like that. Yeah. But definitely kind of picking up where but again, that storyline going on that they got that reemergence of the show came back, and
Jim, no.
No. Well, also too, I'm pretty sure Rickman's family had said no to that to begin with, because there's certain instances like for the Universal parks that they've asked and they've said no.
That makes sense.
But it could just be a park situation, but I feel like it wouldn't happen here either. I mean, in fairness, like there could be a good story to tell in something like a continuation, like if they were like a Galaxy Quest a la Discovery, or just a reboot, and talking about reboot culture and nostalgia culture, as we've been talking about in today's discussion. So that there is something to tell with Galaxy Quest. I would be interested to see, depending on the script, and I would hope it'd be just as good as the original. So
there's been a fair amount of Star Trek since then as well.
And there's the Orville now.
Yeah, and there's the Orville now, so there's more that they can use to draw on for their satire.
Oh yeah. I mean, even like even though it's Star Wars, fanboys, stuff like fanboys and the fan community, and I mean, there's a ton of things that they can draw off of. It just depends on if the script has a story to tell and a heart to the story.
And that's what matters, especially because there's so many of us that grew up with Galaxy Quest, that loved Galaxy Quest. Like, it was such a great movie. Like, a lot of Trekkies, Trekkers, whatever you want to call yourself.
Yes.
Like, it's beloved in the community for a reason, because even though it's making fun of Star Trek, it's doing it
done right.
Yes. It's fan service done right. And it's never like bopping you upside the nose with it.
No,
it's always like, hey.
It shouldn't be hitting you with Thor's hammer every 10 seconds, or Hulk handing you tacos, or Cap deciding to say, screw everything and everything that's been a part of my character. I need to go make out with this chick. This chick.
This is why Ragnarok is one of the best. This is why Ragnarok was dead on. There was
a love letter. Fan service works the best when it is a love letter, when it is a wink and a nod, and it's something inside the story that just goes, hey, we see you. Hey, we remember. Hey, we know this. And I get, but like, that's another thing with like like Supernatural and Castiel, where everyone got so mad that they didn't see what they wanted. You got way more than you would have ever gotten in any other time point in history on that ending. And I know that, like, yes, it wasn't what you wanted, but at the same time, that wasn't the story they were ever going to tell.
Mm-hmm. No. Also, thank you, BM. That is a huge compliment to see.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah. We try. We try to have fun. Yeah.
Well, yeah. I mean, I don't know. I always try to, like, at least help people understand my anger, because sometimes people just go, oh yeah, you're just a nerd girl, and you don't check it off and like dismiss me. And I think all of us, like, we've all dealt with that, and that's not the case. Like, we are experts in what we are experts in. We are students in what we are students in, and we have something to say, and it's something valid.
Yeah.
And people a lot of times like to dismiss it because it's not what they want to hear.
It's not their narrative. Yeah. So it must be wrong.
And that's the thing. Like, the whole gatekeeping is wrong. Mm-hmm. No ifs, ands, or buts. The fact of the matter is, these are stories that are out there for everyone to love.
Yeah.
Whether you have a difference of opinion or not, you don't own, like, X-Men as an example. You don't own Marvel. Like, there are, and especially since there are so many, like, different iterations of these things, like, you can like what you like, and someone else can like what they like. Exactly. You're not incorrect for liking what you like. Everyone has different tastes.
No.
And go ahead.
Oh, I was just gonna say, I mean, it's like in comics when someone writes something different and it's not the character you know or love.
Yeah.
And, unfortunately, it's not your character at the end of the day, or your stories at the end of the day, but it doesn't take away what you know and what you read and what you loved. And that
it's still there.
And that is still valid.
It's if there's an iteration of something like a TV show or a comic book or a storyline or something, I can, and it's just not my cup of tea, I'm just not going to buy it. I'm not going to watch it. I'm not going to read it. And that's totally fine. But then if it's something, I think the MCU feels a little bit different, but that has a lot to do with us having more of a problem with the movie making of it.
Yes. And that's the thing. That's a little bit different, though.
Character. And that is a little bit different, and people need to understand the difference. Just because somebody is critiquing or has an opinion on something that's a part of pop culture doesn't mean that the opinion isn't valid, or they're hitting it as a toxic nerd. It means that maybe they have a good point and a little more disappointment because they had higher expectations because everything was right there for you. Silver platter.
My prime example on that is X-Men Apocalypse. I had so many high hopes for that movie. I was very disappointed when I did watch it on my birthday that year, because it came out on my birthday that year. And, you know, there are people who enjoyed it. It's definitely not my cup of tea. I was very upset by what we got, but I'm not going to knock someone if that's something that they enjoyed.
No, I mean, it's not that I've ever heard anybody say that they enjoy X-Men Last Stand, but like I personally walked out of that movie going, all right, that didn't exist.
No. And a huge part of that was how big those characters were.
Yeah.
For those of us who grew up with them. Like, what? No. But there were points where I almost walked out of the P.T. Barnum music. What was it? The Greatest Showman?
Yeah.
Because it was such a horrible story. The musical numbers are great. The actors were wonderful.
Storyline.
Horrible movie. Yeah. Why are the kids not aging? Seriously?
No.
And the I can't think of her name right now, but I was familiar with the singer, the woman before this, and I cannot think of her name right now.
Or is
like they called her the songbird or something, and anyway, she was a legitimate, real, incredibly successful, talented person in history, and they turned her into a B-movie horror trope.
Okay,
so disrespectful.
They do that, like, I mean, what was it? The Saturday Night Fever did that to the. I learned this the other day, just randomly. There was like this granny who, after her husband died, went to Studio 54 all the time, you know, and was known as like Dancing Sally, and they turned her into this walking trope that she never was. She was just a regular that always came in there to dance, and it's like.
Very disrespectful. Yeah.
Yeah. Like, and that unfortunately, especially with biopics, they do that, and they do that because they feel like they have to follow a formula. Otherwise, you know, and feel like they have to include this character, but since the character is not a part of the main story, it's a bit part. So it's got to stand out by being a caricature, and it generally always falls flat and always makes people angry.
Yeah.
When you're dealing with characters that have had a canon for 80 to 100 years, you're basically dealing with a biopic.
Exactly.
Yeah.
No, I agree with that. I agree with that even with exactly, like with fiction. Like, I mean, that's why there's established characterizations, and when you don't do your proper research and you don't honor it in the appropriate way, it's going to cause this kind of situation. That's one reason why everyone's mad at X-Men, because the issue was never just like the fact that it's a crappy story, because the bones of the story is fine. Whatever happened to the characterization, bomb.
You're going to lose people. You're going to lose people when you do that.
Yeah.
Well, and like some of that is like, to a degree, the casting director's fault, because oh God, what's his name? The one who played Apocalypse.
Yeah, I can't think of it right now. Yeah, IMDb. I mean, bear in mind that Sarah Michelle Gellar was almost in X-Men. So.
As who?
Rogue.
Oh. I could see that. Like,
I wouldn't have hated it.
I actually think that might have been better, like, for an adult version. Like, if they were casting an adult Rogue, she would have been fine.
Well, that wasn't for the new movies. That was for the original movies. That was the Anna Paquin situation.
Yes.
Yeah. I mean, I wouldn't have hated it. I do like Anna Paquin.
Oscar Isaac.
For the character she had to play, because the character in the movie is not Rogue.
It's Jubilee combined with Rogue, combined with a few other characters.
Exactly. Yeah. It was just, she was supposed to be there as the everyman for you to root for you to appreciate. But then something happened around the time, around the third movie with Last Stand, where they just went, screw it all, we don't care. But there's also a story there with the writing too, because the original scriptwriter said, screw you guys. And they had a deal with Fox where they could take their story with them. And so then somebody's off the producing staff, like the CEO, board member people, had their son, who was an intern, write it.
That sounds about right.
Yeah. And ESPN,
I like how Days of Future Past just totally retconned that, though.
Okay, I appreciate that because, like I said, I walked out of that going, okay,
good word for it.
Exist. And I ran with that joke of the movie does not exist for a very, very long time. And
well,
then
it doesn't exist.
It officially does not exist, and I am allowed to still continue my joke. And I'm okay with that. Yes, BM, this is rosé, but it's like the Apothic rosé, so it's like an $8.99 bottle that is not great.
I have $3 bottles of Walmart wine in my fridge because it was there. So I have, thank God I was never a wine snob because I would hate myself.
I'm not a wine snob. That's what's like.
No,
like,
I don't think you are. No, I don't think you are. I always find wine snobs funny. So whenever somebody comments on the wine or feels embarrassed about like an $8, I'm like, God, I drink too much chalk. They must hate me.
Oh yeah, no. I don't like. By all means, I'm not saying that this is.
No, I know you're not.
I'm saying that in general, like if you go to buy Apothic rosé thinking it's good because I'm drinking it,
it's just it's just convenient. Yeah. It's convenient.
Yes, Vinkman, you're just reinforcing why I prefer the 90s cartoons over the Fox X-Men films. Exactly. I'm in the same boat. This is
why we were willing to wait a week to watch the next episode. I'm telling you, it was worth it.
I enjoy X-Men Evolution. It's a really good series. Really underrated.
It is.
It's still like, unfortunately, this is why, like, ultimately X-Men would do better as a TV series over a movie.
Yes.
Because there's just too many moving parts, too many characters, too much.
Yeah. Don't be scared. Don't be scared. Do it. We got the Runaways, the what is it? New Mutants, take your pick. Like, you've given us everything else.
Yeah.
Just do X-Men. Just do it.
It could be as campy as Once Upon a Time for all I care. Just it's better to have episodes that delve into certain characters and have the overarching storylines than it is.
Unfortunately, BM, I cannot have grape wine.
Yeah, no, and I just because this was cheap and it's been a week for me, y'all, personally. So not anything crazy. Don't get me wrong, like things are fine, but it was a certain I wound up with a certain meltdown in a work situation, as I'm sure we're all getting to that point, especially if you've been working from home for a full year. There is that. And Vinkman, X-Men Evolution is actually on Disney Plus.
I believe you're correct.
It is on Disney Plus. So they actually got the rights from WB somehow, but I think it was because the animation studio was never with WB. They just had the distribution rights at the time of airing, and that has since long passed. So Disney brought them up a while ago too, with them equivalent. So Fox never had the rights to X-Men Evolution, and Disney bought that up before they ever even bought up Fox.
Yeah. But yeah,
right, I gotta go.
Yep, it is time for us to end. Everyone, you have a wonderful rest of your week. We will see you again for Two Geek Girls on Sunday. And if you like, I'm in a D&D live stream tomorrow. You should come check me out in that because I'm redoing my hair for that, and that's why my roots are blonde right now.
What do you got coming up next, Kelly?
Tomorrow is a new episode of Make Mine Mayday on the Spidey Dude Network. You can look for it on YouTube, going to Make Mine Mayday, and just searching it. So like, share, subscribe that, and watch that. We're going to talk about Kane. If you know anything about Spider-Man and know Kane, you will definitely want to hear about his first appearance in Spider-Girl. So we're going to talk about that tomorrow. And yeah, that's on it. Well, that and MCU ATL, which is on Facebook. So MCU ATL, that's going to be, we're going to talk about the finale of WandaVision on Saturday afternoon around 2. And other than that, I am going to hide and clean my room and just in general be a hermit. Pandemic.
And I will see you guys on Sunday, and I will be a year older.
Oh,
Hey, happy birthday!
Happy birthday!
Saturday's the birthday. So Mom made me a cake. Yay!
Yay!
Oh, your mom's cooking is amazing. So
it is. Her baking's even better. Horrible for my waistline. But thank you all for joining us. Thank you, Lissa. Thank you, Kelly. Thanks for dealing with our tribbles tonight. And
it's all good.
We will see you guys again on Sunday. Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.